I worked with a client who was well established and quite successful in his career. And one day he just said, I've never really loved what I do. High performers do that. They don't stay because they're weak. They stay because the reasons sound mature. And every reason you have for staying is a good one. That's the problem. The money, yeah, it's a good reason. Benefits, good reason. Lifestyle, yeah, good reason. The fact that you don't know what else to do, annoying, but believable. But on the surface, it all makes sense. That's what makes it so slippery, because anybody can walk away from a bad reason. I mean, that's easy. But a good reason, you don't need coaching to leave a dumpster fire, right? But a reason that sounds mature, responsible, noble, you'll honor that shit for a decade. By the end of this video, I will show you the question that separates responsibility from toleration wearing a suit. And here's what I've noticed about high performers. Performers often tolerate things, but stay out of responsibility because responsibility sounds respectable. That's what nobody says out loud. But when you say I'm staying for the money, yeah, people nod. If you say I'm staying for my family, yeah, people respect it. If you say, well, I'm staying because I don't know what else to do, people think that, well, that's just practical. But sometimes those reasons are not reasons anymore. They're camouflage, excuses. Like the little fake mustache fear puts on so you can walk through life calling it wisdom. That is toleration disguised as responsibility. High performers are really good at this, like gold medal level. So let's look at the 5 costumes this thing wears, because one of them is probably running your life right now, and it's been doing an expensive little tap dance on your Sundays. Number 1, the college decision. Yeah, maybe you chose this path in college, which is crazy because you were 20 at the time, and you just barely legal age, and you are now qualified to pick a professional identity that would last the rest of your life. But, maybe you're good at it. That's the problem. Being good at something can hide the fact that you never actually wanted it. And you did what you thought you're supposed to do. You picked the major, you got the job, you followed the formula, you became the responsible guy. And now years later, part of you is quietly looking around thinking, shit, wait, is this the life and career I built? One of my favorite moments working with a client was when he said out loud, Kurt, I've never really loved this. And he paused because he had never said that out loud before. He told me that. And I could see a relief on his face, like he just let go of that mental load he'd been carrying around for years, because he realized the lie no longer needed life support. And that's a big moment. There's a lot of leaders aren't trapped by their career. They're trapped by the version of themselves that picked it. You call it loyalty. It's sunk cost wearing a tie. I call it the blockbuster effect. You're standing in an empty store holding a VHS tape while the world moved on to streaming, AKA you're clinging to an identity that no longer serves you. That's not loyalty. That is emotional taxidermy. Number 2, I don't know what else I'd do. Ooh, this was a big one for me when I left my 25-year chef career. It sounds honest and humble and practical, but it sounds like the kind of thing a responsible adult says right before pouring another year of their life into the same machine and calling it stability. But come on, you've got decades of experience. You've got accomplishments, recognition, respect. You've got judgment, pattern recognition. You solve problems other people could barely describe without needing a map. In your stories that you can't figure out what else you do, that's not clarity. That's playing hide and seek. Next time you say, I don't know what else I do, try this instead. I haven't really looked seriously at it. That's more accurate. I know, less convenient, because you know it's true. But here's one thing I've tested for you. Waiting and thinking do not produce clarity. Waiting and thinking produce more waiting and thinking. That is not mental strategy. That's your brain on a slow simmer, right? Simmering in that same question for years, stirring it occasionally with a podcast. Action produces clarity. Testing produces clarity. Motion produces clarity. Not sitting in your office, okay, or in your car listening to another podcast or journaling. In fact, one of the most common things I hear from clients is, I just don't know what I'd do next. But what I found so often is so many people are afraid of trying something different because they think it means they have to blow up their life or start from the bottom. No, most of the time they just need a recalibration. You may feel confused, but it's not confusion. You just haven't made a decision. That's the reframe. You're avoiding something specific. And the thing you're avoiding usually has a name. Conversation, a trade-off, disappointment, a risk, a truth you already know, but you've been keeping it in the refrigerator behind the expired excuses. Number 3, golden handcuffs. Okay, this one is a little hard to argue with because it has numbers attached to it. It pays too well to leave. All right, I'll give you that. The money's real, benefits are real, house is real, vacations are real, private school, lifestyle, whatever. That's why that trap works so well. Because if it were obviously terrible, you'd be gone already. I mean, nobody stays in a restaurant after the chef walks out holding a rat by the tail and says, tonight's special has consequences. But see, when it mostly works, when it pays well, when people respect the title and you're Life looks good on the outside. The trap looks elegant. The cage gets crown molding. Yeah, you're giving your kids nice house, good vacations, comfortable life. I'm not dismissing that. Providing matters. But the question nobody wants to put on the spreadsheet is this: what version of you is showing up for them? You might be providing for them materially while disappearing from them in ways nobody puts on a tax return. Your body's in the room while your mind is still at work. Or like a client I work with, he was like, I'm afraid I'm going to miss my kid's childhood because I just don't feel present. He was getting short with his wife and kids. He couldn't even play with his kids without checking email notifications on his phone. But after working together, he stopped telling himself those stories. That's what I hear so many times. See, the key is noticing the trade-off, because you're meant to cancel this version of your life, but you're still getting charged every month in energy, in your Sundays, time with your family, patience, presence. The parent your kids are watching become normal. That's the part that should hit, because kids don't just inherit what you provide, they study what you tolerate, how you show up. If you're recognizing yourself in any of this, don't just do the usual high performer thing where that makes sense. And then you just go about your day like normal. No, these are not just reasons, they're thinking errors. Sunk costs, golden handcuffs, lifestyle protection, waiting for the perfect timing. They all sound reasonable. They sound mature, but they can also keep a capable leader parked for years. That's why I made the Next Move Audit. It's free. It's not journaling. It's not some find your purpose bullshit. Okay. It names the specific thinking errors keeping you parked and walks you to the one move right in front of you. The link in the description. Now, back to the costumes, because the excuses brought friends. Number 4, the lifestyle. I can't give up the lifestyle. Ooh, well, this is tricky because it does sound like a fact, but it usually isn't. It's a story wearing cologne. Here's just one example. The I can't give up the lifestyle is one that I hear the most. I have a female friend, her mid-40s, lives in an affluent area outside of Nashville. They have a beautiful home, new BMWs. They go on great vacations, designer clothes. Right on the surface, they have what appears to be their dream life. But she's like, I'm miserable. I hate it. My marriage is empty. So I asked her, so well, why do you stay? She's like, well, I don't want to give up the lifestyle. I mean, what am I going to do? Start over at 40 and move into an apartment in the city? In one way, I kind of respected her because that's the first time I've ever heard anybody come out and own it and say, yeah, I can't give up the lifestyle. Most people won't say it out loud. They'll dress it up as responsibility. Or they'll slap a blazer on fear and call it being realistic. But at least I don't want to give up the lifestyle. It's honest. Terrible as a life strategy, but honest. But here's a reframe. This is something I wish I would have known when I started over at 40. Who says you have to give it all up? See, had I known this, I would have saved myself 5 years of professional and personal stagnation and $250,000 because I thought it meant blowing up everything and starting from scratch. It didn't even occur to me to take into consideration I had 2.5 decades of experience, pattern recognition, skills, a tool, an arsenal of life and professional experiences that I could use for my next move. See, the lifestyle is not the trap. What you tell yourself about the lifestyle is the trap. That's a different problem, and different problems require different moves. Because sometimes the next move isn't burn it all down. Sometimes the next move is just stop letting fear write the budget. I mean, you built a life that impresses people you wouldn't trade places with. That's an expensive kind of loneliness. Number 5, waiting for the right time. Waiting for the right time is like waiting for your girlfriend to go on the pill only to find out she's had a hysterectomy, AKA there is no right time. There is no perfect time. There's only a cleaner next move. I have a challenge for you. Grab a pen. I want you to write down exactly what the right time looks like. Define it. Not vaguely, not when things calm down, not when I feel ready, not after this quarter, okay? Yeah, I know that one's especially cute because there's always another quarter waiting in the bushes with a shovel. Define the right time. What specifically has to be true? How much money? How much certainty? What conditions? What signs? What deadline? What would make you say, now this is the moment? I've asked dozens of leaders this question, and not one of them has been able to finish that sentence cleanly. That matters because you can't recognize something you never defined. So when you say you're waiting for the right time, you may not be waiting for timing. You may be waiting for a feeling, certainty, permission, confidence, a guarantee. Yeah, I know. Been there too. Those are expensive little bastards, and they show up late, and they charge too much and usually arrive after action, not before it. Notice what all 5 costumes have in common? Every single one turns a choice into an obligation. That's the trick. I'm staying becomes I have to stay. I chose this path becomes I can't leave it now. The money is good becomes I have no options. The lifestyle is nice becomes I'm trapped. The timing is right becomes I'm being responsible. You didn't run out of options. You relabeled them. You're not stuck. You're choosing and calling it stuck. Now, that may sound harsh, but good. Some truths are not supposed to arrive wearing slippers. This isn't about blaming yourself or even criticizing you, because that's useless. It's about getting your agency back, getting back in the driver's seat, because stuck removes you from the equation. Choosing puts you back in it. And once you're back in it, you can make a different move. That's the part people miss. The point is not to shame you for staying. The point is to stop pretending staying is the only possible adult decision. Everything I'm teaching you in this video, I have been guilty of. And I wish I would have known this when I went through it, because it gets real expensive. Because the real cost usually is not the thing you've been measuring. It's the thing you've been telling yourself, it's not bad enough to leave. Yeah, for how long now? 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years? But it's not only costing you money. I mean, you've got money. The meter is years, Sundays, your health, the version your family gets of you at dinner, or not dinner, because you may be missing it. The version your kids are growing up around. Out of all the times I've heard somebody say, I don't want to miss my kid's childhood, the thing is they're not physically gone. They're there, sort of. They're present in a way a phone is at 1% battery and technically still on. And remember, putting off a decision, think of it this way. You can defer a decision, but the bills always do. And the penalty is always stiffer than the original cost. What will your life look like in a year if things stay the same? Oh, that's right. Things never stay the same. They actually get gradually worse, but you think they'll stay the same. So here's a question I'll leave you with. Are you being responsible, or are you tolerating a life or a career you no longer want because toleration makes you look responsible? That's the question. It won't feel convenient, but that's good. Convenience is how this thing got away with stealing your Sundays in the first place. And the reasons will always sound good. The only question is how long you'll keep getting paid on Sundays to believe them. If you recognize yourself in any of those, that's the signal. The Next Move Audit names those thinking errors, keeping capable leaders parked, and walks you to the one move right in front of you. Link is in the description. Cheers.